All right, is Denver actually unaffordable, or is that the wrong question to be asking? Because here's what we keep seeing. People will scroll past Denver in their relocation search because they've heard it's unaffordable, and then they won't actually run the real numbers. Meanwhile, people already living here are stuck paying rent that's within a few $100s of a mortgage payment, and nobody's ever laid that side by side out for them. So today, I'm not gonna tell you whether Denver is affordable or unaffordable. I'm gonna show you the real math, rent versus buy, what different budgets actually get you, and what it costs to live here day to day, and then let you decide where you land. I'm Jason, team lead with the Denver Group. We are a high-performing real estate team here in the Denver market. We want to be your resource and guide for all things Denver real estate. You can let us know what questions you have about the market, or selling a house, or the process to buy. We are here. Again, just reach out. We want to help. So this is the most requested breakdown on this channel. Let's start with why Denver got expensive, because the reasons matter more for what you do next. First of all, rates. The average 30-year mortgage right now is sitting at about 6.5%. That is not the 3% era of 2020 and 2021, and it's not coming back to that anytime soon. Most economists expect rates to stay above 6% for the foreseeable future. Second, migration. Denver spent the better part of a decade as a top relocation destination, and that demand pushed prices up faster than incomes could keep pace. Third, inventory. It tightened hard during the pandemic years, and even though supply has improved and loosened, Denver now has meaningfully more listings than it did 3 years ago. Prices did not fall back to match. They actually plateaued instead. And this just isn't a Denver story. Nationally, the income needed to afford the median priced home has nearly doubled since 2020, from around $66,000 to over $120,000, while the typical monthly payment on that same home has climbed from about $1,700 to $3,100. Denver's version of this crisis is real, but it's part of something bigger happening across the country. I'm not going to sugarcoat this part though. If you're comparing today's Denver to the Denver of 2019, it is a very different, more expensive market. So what matters now is understanding exactly how it's expensive so you can plan around it instead of around a headline. All right, so let's put real numbers side by side. You've got average rent across Denver right now, which runs about $1,900 to $2,000 a month citywide. And a 2-bedroom averages somewhere around $2,100 to $2,300. Again, those are averages. Now here's the buy side. On a median priced Denver home, call it $600,000 with 20% down at today's roughly 6.5% interest rate, you're looking at a total monthly payment, including taxes and insurance, of somewhere around $3,300 to $3,450. So the gap between renting and buying in Denver right now is very real. You're looking at paying roughly $1,300 to $1,500 more per month to own instead of rent once you include taxes and insurance. But that gap is the price of building equity instead of paying someone else's mortgage. The math only favors buying if you're planning to stay long enough for appreciation and principal paydown to close that gap. Most lenders and agents would put that break-even point somewhere around 5 to 7 years in a market like this one. If you're trying to figure out whether renting or buying makes sense for your specific timeline, that's exactly what our team, the Denver Group, does. The conversations that we have with buyers every single week. Reach out, link is gonna be in the description. All right, so let's get specific, because the median home costs $600,000 doesn't actually tell you what your money buys. So I'm going to break this into 3 tiers. First, we've got $450,000. At a budget like this, you're most likely looking at condos and townhomes or detached homes in the further out suburbs and up and coming pockets, rather than central Denver in an established neighborhood and suburb. This is your realistic entry-level tier in this market. $650,000. This is right around Denver's current median price. And at this level, level, you're in range for a detached single-family home in a solid, established neighborhood. This is where most move-up buyers in dual-income households will land. And you got 950,000 plus. This is where you start seeing the premium neighborhoods, much more established, very central location, updated homes in Wash Park adjacent areas, got larger lots, more square footage, and homes with fewer compromises on condition or location. The honest takeaway is your budget doesn't just set your price ceiling, it sets which neighborhoods and which trade-offs you're actually choosing between. Those are the conversations worth having before you start touring, not after. All right, so beyond the mortgage or rent check, here's what people actually Google before they move here. Number one, property taxes. Colorado's property taxes are genuinely one of the lowest effective rates in the country. They're anywhere around 0.44 to 0.48% in Denver. On a $600,000 home, that's roughly $2,600 to $3,000 a year. And if you're coming from a high property tax state, this is a very real relief valve in your budget. Second is utilities. Utilities actually run about 13% below the national average here, largely thanks to Colorado's dry climate, which can keep cooling costs down most of the year. Although heating definitely spikes in winter, and summer AC will of course show up on the bill. Third is groceries. Groceries run only slightly above the national average, call it 2 to 4% higher. And this is not where Denver's cost of living hits you. Number four is HOA fees, the one wild card. So if you're looking at condos or townhomes, HOA fees in many Denver area communities can run $300 to $600 or more a month, and that can meaningfully change your real monthly housing costs beyond the mortgage payment. So the honest summary is Denver's cost of living premium isn't really about groceries or utilities. It's almost entirely a housing story. Everything else is close to the national average or better. So who does Denver's current affordability picture actually favor? If you're relocating from a higher cost market like the Bay Area, Seattle, coastal cities where these same numbers can look small by comparison, then Denver still reads as a relative deal, especially with no state level surprises and genuinely low property taxes. If you're a local first-time buyer competing against those relocators, the math gets tougher because your reference point is Denver incomes, not a higher cost origin market. So that's the honest, unspun version of Denver's affordability story in 2026. Expensive, yes, relative to its own history, still a value proposition relative to the coast, and very different depending on which side of that comparison you're standing on. If you want to run your specific numbers, your income, your timeline, rent versus buy, which locations and neighborhoods make the most sense for you, that's a quick conversation for us and our team. The link is below. And if you're deciding between Denver and somewhere else entirely, make sure to stick around, subscribe here, because that comparison series is gonna start next. I'm Jason, team lead with the Denver Group. Thank you for watching. Let us know what questions you have. Let us know how we can help you. Thanks for watching, and make sure to follow for more Denver.